In Manurewa, there's a quiet change happening. A group of Pasifika principals have got together as a mutual support group that's grown into a mechanism for improving community engagement and teaching practice.
We are just a group of Pasifika principals, like-minded principals who want to get together, strengthen ourselves so that we too can assist in the wider raising of achievement.
The creation of a mutual support group for Pasifika school leaders was immediately welcomed by the principals.
It's important for Pasifika principals to feel supported. We are definitely a minority in number, but when together we have a special character and a special kind of uniqueness about our own values and our own cultural structures and practices. And so we come together and we can come from a certain point of view.
When you are a minority and the majority are non-Pasifika, and all the time you are finding yourself in situations where you're having to kind of listen and then bridge the misunderstandings or, advocate. So it's kind of nice to come where everybody understands. It's been neat to talk about things that are specific to principalship in terms of being a Pasifika principal. Everyone's got something to bring to the table. Nobody is kind of saying, well, I think this should be, and in a Pasifika setting we don't work in that way either. You always work towards agreement.
The support in these meetings is aimed ultimately at improving schools for staff and for students.
What I believe, and also the New Zealand Pasifika Principals Association believes, is the best principle for a Pasifika child is a quality Pasifika person. And so I want to ensure that if there are some Pasifika principles around me, I want to share some of my knowledge as I do want to learn some of theirs.
We can share what's happening in your schools, the same thing is happening at mine. So what can we do together? So as a community, it's helped me to look beyond just the Homai community. It's about the whole of Manurewa.
Sometimes we don't all have the right strategies or the right answers because Pasifika isn't just Samoan, it's Samoan and it's Tongan and this group is very different. Like I'm a Samoan but I don't speak Samoan. Carl's a Samoan but he does speak Samoan. Rosina's Kukala Māori. So it's bringing in all those different skill sets to be able to support our teachers back in the school to make sure we've got ideas and ways to share with our staff.
It hasn't only been about sharing with staff. The group has engaged with the ministry in an effort to improve reporting to local communities. And as a consequence, their boards are acting collectively.
Our boards now in our 5 schools are wanting to get together regularly and wanting to talk about possibly putting together a strategy of raising achievement across the cluster. It's easy for us as principals to identify areas of need, but in the Pasifika culture, you would have to ask of your leaders, of your elders, of your community. You just want to make a connection.
Yeah.
While building community engagement, these Pasifika leaders are also reaching out to non-Pasifika teachers. They've partnered with NZEI Te Reo Roa in running Carrying the Tapa workshops, professional development sessions specifically designed to educate and inskill Palangi practitioners in relating to Pasifika children and their families.
Because we're serving in an area which is high Pasifika numbers, it makes sense to share amongst each other and to help our fellow non-Pasifika colleagues, principals, to do the same. So, it does make sense that we can share.
It's about understanding their worlds. It's about being respectful. It's about building mutual respect. And it's about being fair.
There are definitely teachers in our schools that need support when dealing with Pasifika, and Carrying the Tapa is a course for non-Pasifika teachers of Pasifika children that gives them a bit of a cultural awareness, cultural injection of Pasifika to give them some skills when dealing with Pasifika children and families.
I think it's really about connection and really understanding that our Pasifika families and including our Māori families really live a collective rather than an individual type existence. So when you're talking about the student, you're actually talking about their whole ainga or their whole whānau. And the way in which you engage with that student and their wider ainga is important because that's the way that you're going to hook them into their learning, you're going to hook the whole family into their learning.
The principals in the Pasifika Principals grouping are active members of the wider Manurewa Principals cluster, as well as other associations. Nevertheless, their work over recent months has convinced them of the worth of their own cluster, and they're seeking to share their experience more widely.
We've now created an opportunity for a gathering of all Pasifika principals within Auckland to come to one place and just to chew the fat about certain issues in the community at the moment. Also, we're going to network. There are 24 on paper within Auckland. Compare that to a few years ago and a few stats, that's a huge growth. The last 3 appointments to principals in Manurewa were Pasifika principals. We've seen principals being appointed to Papakura, and also the last 2 principals appointed in Mangere have been Pasifika. So it's something that our communities, our boards are now looking for. It's something that our people can now aspire to be. And I think, quality Pasifika leadership is powerful.